By the way, so you guys are being recorded, just to let you know that, you're being recorded. So I don't know if that's going to change any questions that you might have or whatever, but in any event, just know that you're being recorded.
Can we hear them?
If they unmute themselves, we can. All right, so here we go. Okay, so before we begin, one of the most important things is to always rule out medical first. So when an animal is medically compromised, this can cause them to act differently. So one of the biggest questions is when you get a call to the helpline is you sort of listen to what they have to say, start taking notes and such, and then, say, did this come on suddenly? Is it a change that happened just immediately and then you've never seen this before, or does it, come up seasonally or whatnot? But then the big question is it because of a medical issue, or have you ruled out medical? So a question you could ask is, would be, has your cat been to the vet recently? And then if there's any talk of aggression, to start, you'll refer it to me. But you can, if you had to, you could definitely take, take the message or take the information down. You could take the information down and then just don't give any advice. The more information you can take down as sort of as a message taker, the easier it's going to be for us to work with. But again, just sort of empathize with them and talk with them.
Can I interrupt one quick
Please,
sec?
yes.
The vet care is particularly important in terms of urination out of the box or any urinary problems. In that case, you should insist they see the vet before you talk to them anymore.
Great. Okay, so the behavior topics we are going to cover, or do our best to cover tonight, is going to be introduction of animals, cat, and cat-dog, hiding, house soiling, play, aggression in cats, and destruction in cats. So this session will be recorded, or it is being recorded, so you can always go back to listen to it again. The other thing is the actual PowerPoint itself might be helpful, but for the most part, a lot of the nuances and different particular situations you'll probably want to make note of, as it won't be on the PowerPoint itself. So, introduction to cat. So quickly reading through the PowerPoint, and then we will elaborate on each slide. So cats tend to be territorial. Their introductions need to be slow, over 1 to 2 weeks. You'll be confining the new cat, feeding of cats on either side of the door, moving closer as time goes on, switch cat spaces, beds, toys, food bowls, use a baby gate to start regular introductions, or a piece of plexi, which is what we use here in Boston. Body language and vocalizations are okay. Keep first free introductions short and positive. If hissing or aggression occurs, separate for 24 hours and start again with opening the doors and feeding. So feel free to elaborate, please.
In fact, I just got a call today about somebody who's, I think his name is Mischief, black and white. He's doing beautifully. Their cat is dejected and crying. This is very, very common. You bring home a new cat, you want to make him feel welcome. What you really need to do is reassure your old cat. The new cat has no expectations. The old cat had expectations of being king of the mound for the rest of his life. And who is this new cutie? So you need to address your resident cat significantly.
So just moving into some of the specifics. So a little bit about cats being territorial, and then doing the introduction if you want to just start it, going through each individual piece.
Oh, yes.
Here.
We need to be slow. You can find the new cat, feeding cats on either. Well, you've just covered all that.
So the calls you might receive is they might have already, gotten to the point where they're trying the actual introduction, similar to the call that Marna got today, is they've already tried it and things sort of went wrong. So one of the big questions is, have I ruined it forever? The answer is no. And then you would follow back and go towards these instructions. So you can always back up. The worst case scenario is the cats need to be separated. and then follow the instructions.
May I just insert
please.
that 9 times out of 10 they'll be calling you because they didn't do this all the way through, because after 3 days, oh,
It was
he
fine.
wanted out so bad, or it was so inconvenient. But yes.
Okay. So again, if they've gotten themselves in a jam, they can always back it up. And again, as it said, separate for another 24 hours before starting it again, sort of hit a reset button and then move on. So an introduction for cat dog is a little bit different. Believe it or not, you can have a lot more control over a dog than you can a cat. And you want to make sure that the cat has a safe place to be away from the dog so that the cat can really feel like they are comfortable enough where they're not going to feel like they're going to get attacked by the dog all the time. So I think, if we were adopting out a cat to a dog household, the way that we would probably, give instruction on that would be, is there a place where your cat can? Or if the resident cat lives there already and they are adopting a dog, same thing. Does your cat have a place to be where the dog cannot get? And then, as you can see, what you do is practice obedience with the dog, have them able to sit, stay, down, come. Obviously, they would be on a leash. That's one thing I will add to this. They should be on a leash for these instructions or for these introductions. Controlled meetings, dog is on a leash or cat is behind a gate, sitting if possible for the dog. With the cat across the room, feed both of them treats. Again, you can control the dog a little bit easier than you can control the cat. And then, as it proceeds well, allow the cat to freely roam, having a dog stay and reward for positive behavior. Did you have anything to add to that?
No.
Okay, so hiding. And let me just double check here to make sure. All right, just wanted to see if anybody else had joined us. Okay. So hiding in cats, be sure they're using the litter box and you're going to provide water. You're not going to pull the cat out. And this may happen a lot with the ones that you've just adopted, or if your resident cat or the resident cat has started hiding because a new cat is there or dog, whatever, or if they were just adopted and brought home. The other part to this, before I continue, is if your cat has been fine and happy and around and all of a sudden starts hiding, that might be where a medical.
That's a cue for a vet call.
Okay, yeah. So that's a cue for a vet call. So again, be sure they're using their litter box and you're going to provide water. Now notice that I'm not saying we're going to provide food. We'll talk about that in a second. You're not going to pull them out of where their hiding spot is. And you're going to use the desensitizing counter conditioning with wet food and treats. So, Marna, you can talk to that point.
I tend to put some, I don't know, can they see me? Some wet food on my fingertips before I've fed them. Whichever end of the day you feed them their wet food. I reach out there usually under something and get as close as I can, offer them the food on my fingertips for at least 4 or 5 minutes. If they're just not going to eat it, then I'm not going to starve them. I give them their food. But I do this over and over again. The point is to get them to associate food with hands so that hands are not that scary. You can, once they begin eating it, then you can draw your hand back a little bit more, or you can reach in and maybe try to touch their paw. I played patty cake with one cat, Atticus, under the sofa for quite a while and coaxed him out that way. He got very comfortable with me under the sofa. So that's my big trick, my one and only.
So catnip you can use, and slowly make more contact with the cat as they feel more comfortable. As Marna was saying, first no petting, not at all, and then you
Let
can
the cat set the pace.
Yeah. The other big deal or big question that you can ask somebody if they call and they're having this issue is, what's the traffic like for both human and other animals? So, are they hiding in a place, or, what's the household like in general, but are they hiding in a place where they might have too much traffic, or, I don't know, let's take out an apartment here in Boston and they're on the floor near the elevator where everybody passes, and the hiding spot isn't as quiet as the cat would like it. So there's just different ways that you have to think about sort of outside the box when it comes to this stuff. So these are questions that you should feel completely comfortable asking people as well, because they're asking you for help and you need as much information as you can get. So, you know, you can ask them, what's the household like? How many people live in the home? Are there other animals? That sort of thing. And so what we do then is come to the conclusion of, okay, what could be causing the cat to hide? What could be causing the cat to not eat? Those sort of things. Hopefully nobody's calling me in regards to this from New Jersey. Could somebody be calling me from New Jersey?
I doubt that very much.
And they would text, I think.
Anyway, they're late.
And anyway, they're late, right. I'm just, again, going to double check to make sure we don't have anybody asking questions. Good. Excellent. Okay. This is a big topic. So cats and litter box use. So this one might be the one that we spend most of our time on, and vice versa. So when you're taking a call like this is going to be kind of a biggie call, and it's quite popular, yes?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's the biggest problem we have.
Okay. So the causes could be medical. So offer some suggestions first, and then always mention it's a good idea to have the cat checked out by a veterinarian, especially if they've never had this issue before and it all of a sudden happens. So behaviorally, it could be urine marking or inappropriate elimination for some particular behavior. Now, when I think of cats and litter box issues, they have limited ways of expressing their, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but they have limited ways of expressing themselves. Thank you. When they're not comfortable with a situation. I can't say happy or sad because then I'm anthropomorphizing them. I'm saying more when they're not comfortable with a situation, this could be the only way that they use their way to communicate.
It's effective.
It
gets our attention.
Certainly gets our attention. So behavioral history is going to be one of the biggest things, and we're going to go into this a little bit more, but first it's the litter box. Yeah, I mean, you could go either way. My next slide has the household and litter box, but going backwards for a second. So the litter box. So is it vertical or horizontal? Like the urine marking, that's the question. Is it vertical or horizontal? So, right?
Yeah, if it's horizontal, they're spraying or marking. If it's vertical, if they're going onto the floor,
okay,
it's urine. They're just peeing, basically.
Gotcha. Is it everywhere? Few different locations, one specific location? Is it near the litter box but not in the litter box? Are they squatting or standing if they catch them? So that's the other question too. Do they even catch them doing it, or are they, seeing it afterwards? If they do it outside or inside, well, outside the litter box, are they scratching before it or after if you catch them again? And is it near a window or a door? And also, what is their behavior in the litter box? So what are they doing in the litter box? Is there anything in the litter box, or do you see it in the morning in the litter box, but then the rest of the day you don't see it there? Very, very finicky in particular.
Mm-hmm. If you can get them to send you a picture of the litter box far enough back so that they can see the whole environment of the litter box, it's amazing how many little details they leave out because they don't mean anything to them, but they mean a lot to us. If it's next to, say, a refrigerator that turns on and off suddenly, that can freak a cat out when he's trying to go to the bathroom and turn him against the litter box. Lots of little things like that. Be imaginative. Try to get a handle on what the whole house looks like.
So that segue into behavioral history of the litter box and the household. So again, they're asking you for help, so you can delve into as many questions that will help your case as possible. So litter box accessibility. How accessible is the litter box? For example, Marna's told me a few stories where people have said, oh, my cat's not using the litter box anymore. Okay, well, all these suggestions have been gone through, and then all of a sudden come to find out the litter box is up in an attic where nobody goes, and it's dark and dingy, and they don't even go there, but they expect the cat to go up and use the litter box up there. I mean, that's really, accessibility is very important. And the cats, again, will decide this is not the right place for my litter box, so I'm just not going to use it. So again, location, size is important. If you have a really big cat and a little litter box, that's not super comfortable for them, or vice versa. Maybe if you have a giant litter box thinking that it might be as much room as possible, then it's too big and they have too much space. The house, again, we're talking about people that could be living in a studio apartment versus people that could be living in a big 3-story colonial where, again, the litter box is way down in the basement in a dark, dingy corner, and the cat is really, really happy on the 1st or 2nd floor. What's the layout? Number of floors that the cat can access in relation to the box. And then the household. How many people? How much traffic is there when people are going in and out? For example, is the litter box in the mud room where people come in and out, and then they have to use that, but people are coming in and out the door? That could be really awkward for a cat. They might need more privacy, or vice versa. They need more people to watch them, and it's too quiet. What other pets are around, both inside and outside? So there have been other cases that I've seen, even on like My Cat from Hell. I've seen a ton of different things from Jackson Galaxy's private lessons that he does on TV, where there were wildlife.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's more spraying than actually.
right. Oh, that's true.
But
right.
that's a very important thing to ask about that, because you don't think of it. But the minute the owners, say, are there any cats outside? Yes. Can your cat see them? Yes. And they're suddenly on board.
Right, right. So these are all the process of elimination, so to speak. And then visitors. So I remember way back when I went to visit my cousin and she had cats, and still does, but they're different cats. I came back and I was there for a week, and my bed was sprayed on because I was visiting for a week, and the cat was like, I don't know why you're here, and that's what happened. So
it's probably where they sleep when they don't have guests.
Exactly. Yep, that was pretty much it. Yep. So, you have to think about what might have changed in the situation. Like, again, the same thing with the household. If you have kids going off to college and they've been there for the past, 18, 17 years, and the cat maybe has been there for 10 of it, and they leave, the cats are like, where did they go? So this is,
cats
again,
hate change.
Thank you.
Hate change.
That's a really good point. So again, you may feel uncomfortable delving into some of this stuff, but it's really, really important when you're trying to get to the bottom of a problem such as litter box issues. So a little bit about urine marking. That's different. Urine marking is a behavior that's done, what would you say, like territorial issues?
Almost invariably some sort of territorial issue.
And it's different. It smells different.
It's ghastly.
So it smells different. It looks different. It's in weird, odd places. So it may not even, it doesn't really look like a urine accident. It looks like it was more deliberate, I guess.
It is.
So spraying or squatting, they can do it. 13% of neutered male cats spray, and 4% of female spayed cats will spray. If squatting, usually on objects or possessions. So again, when I was at my cousin's place, the cat sprayed the bed. And it's usually smaller amounts. Their history of territorial, competitive, and sexual conflict, indoor and outdoor cats. So if you've adopted a cat that was once outdoor and now is indoor, you may see it more frequently. As opposed to inappropriate elimination. So they're two completely different things. They're usually larger amounts in a few locations and may be accompanied by a scratching behavior. History may reveal initiating factors, litter box, the litter, the box, the location, maybe an aversion to it somehow. And then history usually indicates substrate preference. So carpet, smooth surfaces, that sort of thing. Kind of zip through that. So if anyone has any questions, definitely speak up. So treatment.
Yeah, I had a question. This is Jane.
Hi, yes, please.
Are there any specific types of litter that are more, like if it seems like maybe the cat might not like the litter?
Sure.
I've found that the yesterday's news is nicer, I don't know, on their butts, but I don't know if that's based on anything, but I know our cats like it. So I don't know if there's a general rule in terms of like maybe they could try a different type of litter, what to suggest.
The litter's very important. Everything about the litter box, Jane, everything about the litter box matters. You should ask them everything. Is it covered? Is it uncovered? How big is it? Do you use liners? What kind of litter are you using? If it's a cat they've adopted from us and they're not using clay litter, my first suggestion is to switch the cat back to clay litter because that's what he's used to. We use Scamp, but Tiny Cat is just as good. I just transitioned my cats from clay to the world's best cat litter, and I hardly had to do anything. They really liked it. They went right to it. But you can transition them slowly if they don't like it. But the clay litter is if it's an ARL cat and they're not using clay litter, that would be one of my first suggestions, is to go back to the clay because that's what they're used to. Is that confusing or not?
Does
No,
that make
makes
sense?
sense?
So I guess we could have done a whole other thing on the actual litter too. So maybe what we can do too within the handouts, we can put a different set.
Talk to you afterwards about it, yeah. Because there's so much about the litter box.
Yeah, we could do a whole entire session on litter box stuff. Sorry, I'm waiting on Denise. That was who called. Just for some reason, she didn't have the link. So hopefully she'll sign on soon. Okay, sorry. Any other questions before I move on? Oh, here we go. I have some litter stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so the treatment of inappropriate elimination. So let me go back for 1 second. So the treatment of urine marking may be a little bit different than the treatment of the inappropriate elimination. So that one you might be doing a little more. Oh, here we go. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, guys. Hi, Denise. Sorry about that. I didn't know that was you.
Hi, I realized I had no link attached.
That's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mute you just because, but I did record it. So the recording will be available up until what you're getting to now. So I'm sorry if it sounds a little confusing.
No problem.
And just know that we are recording. So keep it clean. No, I'm kidding. All right, hang on. Okay, so treatment of urine marking, like I said, is going to be a little bit different than treatment of the inappropriate elimination. So we want to eliminate the cause. We want to obstruct the view. So urine marking, again, could be territorial. So for example, there might be new cats that have just decided to start walking around the house, and the resident cat has now seen them and is starting to mark in that particular area. You want to obstruct that view or confine the area and, sort of go through some of those processes of elimination. Make locations aversive or change the significance of them. So you may have to block them out of that area for a while. There's scat, which is a spray, scented spray, citrus. They don't really like that, so it might stop them from doing it. Upside down carpet or runner, and add food, etc. So, again, they tend to not like eating where they pee.
Right.
So that would be the adding food part. They could also go to their veterinarian to talk about drug therapy or a veterinary behaviorist, in which case, if that's going to be one of the suggestions, I'd go through myself first, and then I will refer them out. But there is drug therapy that can help that. Treatment of, as opposed to treatment of inappropriate elimination, where you may actually have some other options to help them with before you actually refer to a veterinary behaviorist. So you're going to make the litter box as pleasant as possible for each individual cat. Litter choice experiments, so similar to what Jane was just asking. Clumpable versus clay versus
Today's news or yesterday's news was what Jane was having success with.
Great, yeah. So there's a whole bunch of different options. No hood or a hood, no liner, You know, there's so many weird things, not weird, I apologize for that. There's so many different things that cats can be so averse to that you and I would think, oh, it's just going to make, the liner is going to make my life easier. It's going to be so much quicker to clean. But in all actuality, the cats are like, nope, I want no part of that liner. Maybe you want to add another box, or there's alternative litter choices. The scoop the box more frequently something may have made the inappropriate locations. Oh, so you would want to make the locations inappropriate,
Unattractive.
yeah. So
They're going in the tub, squirt with lemon juice. If they're going on the carpet, squirt with lemon juice too. It doesn't, at least it didn't stain mine.
Okay, so you want to make the location of where they've gone before aversive. I don't like using that word, but hopefully you get the idea. Unattractive, thank you.
Yes.
That's a martyr word. Reward the cat for using the box, so you can use treats, and then gradually return to a normal type. It might be a new normal, so you guys might be figuring each other out. Make inappropriate area undesirable, like we talked about for the marking.
I just have one quick.
Please.
If it's a multiple cat household, there may be some dominance issues going on. They are so subtle about this. It took me a long time to realize that my cat Figaro was lounging in front of the kitchen door, just so, oh, I'm just here napping. But my other cat couldn't get to her food in the kitchen. I had to switch her feeding station to the bedroom. And it was, you know, it's not something you would normally look at and say, oh, he's blocking her from her food. You have to be really alert to that in a multiple cat household.
Because again, it's so
subtle.
subtle. Yep. Oh my God. So subtle. It's creepy in a way. We didn't talk a ton about the multi-cat household, but I think we're going to get there.
Oh, good. Okay.
So prognosis. So good to excellent. So, you know, working with these problems, even within a helpline type of situation for what you guys are doing and committing to, the prognosis is good. So you'll have some pretty good success. The challenge is it takes some time. So between all of us as a group, we can definitely sign on and, you know, be a part of this person's solution. Even if it's not you the entire time, there's a team of us that will be able to help them make it through this problem. At least 75% of the cats with inappropriate elimination problems are cured or significantly better after treatment. There may be or may not be relation to the frequency or duration or age, and that means that doesn't really matter. Like, it might happen depending on their age, depending on how long it's happening, but regardless, this prognosis is still pretty good. And then between 50 and 100% of cats with urine marking problems are cured or significantly better. Sometimes those ones might be a little bit more challenging, in which case you'll want to refer. But for the most part, we'll definitely do our best, again, to continue to help.
With the end of the urine stuff, I always want to put in one quick remark, and that is that there's no point in treating failure to use the litter box behaviorally if it's a medical problem. So it's really important that you initially say, get them to a vet, call me when they've got to, call me back when you have a clean bill of health and we address this, but explain to them you can't behaviorally solve, and that kidneys, God, I don't know how many cats die from kidney diseases of some sort or another. But and if you catch it early, it doesn't need to be fatal.
Yeah.
I mean, just pump all that information into them, scare the bejesus out of them, so they'll take the cat to a vet and find out.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny, just a quick note on the vet part. Cats are so, like, just there, and they are pretty amiable. So they kind of just live in their house and they don't really bother you too much. And then you start to have these behavioral problems when in all actuality, it could easily be medical. But some people do definitely only get their cats to the vet every 3 years, because that's when the rabies and the different vaccines are due. And so if something crops up, or in general, the bottom line is, especially with this inappropriate elimination and urine marking, definitely consider, they want to really rule out the veterinary situation or question.
Because if it is medical, all the behavioral things in the world
Yes.
won't fix the problem.
Right.
either.
And then you're sort of just
torturing the cat.
exactly. So, so let me just break here for a second and see if there are any other questions before we continue on. Can we suggest cat attract litter as an option? Is that cat
Yes,
attract?
yes.
Okay,
I
great.
always forget
Thanks,
about
Erin.
that myself, but yes, that's always a good.
So I'm not familiar with that.
As you sprinkle it on top of the cat litter, it's like a sort of dark sand, and I understand some people have had pretty good success with it.
Excellent. Okay, good. Thank you, Erin, for that. And Kristen, I saw your thanks. That makes sense, Marna. I don't remember exactly what. Hopefully, all of it makes sense. All right. So,
I had another question. This is Jane.
please. Hi. Yes.
Do you get a lot of calls from people that have just adopted a cat with, and they take the cat home and they have elimination problems or something happens and they don't know what to do? Like
Yes.
someone who's never had a cat before, for example.
Yes. All of the above. It's
Okay.
the options. It's the new adopters that they get them, like the call that I had tonight. She'd only had him home a day.
That's
And
a really good point. Yeah, because first of all, we do in our adoption packets put in the helpline number. And it's tough because there's no real direct phone number to the adoption center. And that's kind of what we're here for. So so did they adopt from us or?
Yeah, they adopted, I know his name isn't Mischief, but anyway, they adopted a really great black and white cat, and he was doing fine. It was their own cat that was moping around, and that's where.
Oh, that's right, the resident cat.
That's the one that, don't forget the resident cat. That's the cat that had hoped to be the star of the show forever and ever. And here you come home with this new thing. But yes, I get a lot of calls from within a week of getting the cat home, and this isn't going well, or that isn't going well, or were their expectations too high, or just a lot of questions, especially if they're a new cat owner, or they have other cats. There are a lot of little bumps on the road, but they're not that hard to resolve.
Good. And the other thing too is, again, I can't stress enough how much of a network you have behind you. I'm so lucky. We are so lucky to have 3 people that really have a huge focus in each of the species that we're talking about. So if at any point you're feeling overwhelmed or that you're worried about not being able to answer the questions, we're just a quick call, text, or anything away where we can all sort of work as a team to help with the problem. So, I don't want you guys to feel like you're out there all by yourself doing it all on your own. So, even if it's, you're kind of jammed up because they're answering all the questions, they're really frantic, again, you can always just take a deep breath and just say, okay, we will get back to you with answers and help. Or if they give you a hard time when you're really trying to eliminate the medical part, some people might be a little bit, turned off by that because they really want answers right away. Again, they're looking to us for help and we're the ones that have the knowledge. So that's what they're depending on you guys for. You don't need to have all the answers perfectly. So
this might be a good time to talk about the hand-holding requirements.
Oh, yes. So before we do that, let's sort of stay on track
yes.
first, and then we'll finish with that.
Some other time, yes.
Okay. So, vocalizations. So again, if suddenly the behavior changes, we recommend the veterinarian because vocalizations can come for different reasons. Siamese cats are quite vocal. That's pretty normal. So for those new cat owners that have adopted either a mixed Siamese or a true Siamese, and then all of a sudden my cat is up all night meowing, that's totally normal.
Changing that.
Yeah. Attention seeking. We'll talk a little bit about ignoring the behavior. If ignoring it, it's funny because we have office foster cats up here, and they're kind of new to the office and they really want a ton of attention, and so you get a lot of that attention seeking type type vocalizations. Wanting to go outside, that could be for the cats that have either experienced it or have been outside before and now are inside. Spay neuter is always a good solution. More indoor play, making indoor be more exciting than outdoor. I don't know if it could be more, but making it a little more exciting than, you know.
Yeah.
Window perches. So you could do aversives at the door, the spray, the scat, carpet runner, those sort of things. What the heck is the carpet runner? I guess I don't know what that is.
It's just a carpet that runs down the hall. It's a long skinny. It's not even a carpet, it's a rug, really, but they call it. And then they have things that you put under them to keep them from skidding.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And they don't like that.
They don't like that.
Okay.
But they're cheaper things. They don't like tinfoil either and sticky back tape. If they're on top of things, that's better than a carpet runner. But anything that they don't like to put their paws on.
Gotcha. Okay. So there is, if the resident cat had been with a cat for a long time and something happens, cats bond as much as dogs do, and their life changes. Again, cats do not do change well. So you may start to see some more vocalization for cats that are older and some cats that have just lost their resident pet. It could be a cat or a dog. Again, solutions could be offer incompatible activities like play, petting, and allow time to take its course. So that one is going to be a little tough because it's just going to take time. Is it the answer to get another cat? I'm going to vote no on that. But
for vocalization, I don't know. I did want to put in that with elderly cats, crying at night is frequently because they don't see or hear as well as they used to. They get disoriented and lost, and sometimes all you have to do is just call out, "Hey, Freddie, we're in here," or keep the cat in the bedroom with you at night. But 9 times out of 10, just some vocalization on your own part will calm them and orient them to where they are. As to the get another cat, I always like the analogy that if your husband died and your best friend comes over in a couple of weeks with some guy and said, "Hi, here's your new husband. Would you welcome him?"
Oh, I love that analogy.
And it's true. You think, "Oh, I'll just get him another cat," but it's not another cat. It's that cat that is missing. And another cat, especially a kitten, might work because kittens are distracting and not like the other cat.
Okay.
But it's something to really think about, because if you get the other cat home and it doesn't work out, they get bonded to the other cat and then try to force the situation moving forward, and it just never works out well.
So that wouldn't be your first suggestion.
That would be one of my last suggestions.
And then transition, like I said, transition is really hard, change is really hard. So some solutions is you don't reinforce it, similar to the attention seeking, and then give it time. Any questions about the vocalizations? Okay. So play aggression. There's going to be a difference between aggression and play aggression. And this is where it comes into play when you can sort of ask the questions but don't give advice. And if it's starting to look like or sound like it's play, that's when you can start to sort of, by process of elimination, then you can decide to talk to them or continue with your advice. But I would say in the beginning, when you're starting to take these calls, if the word aggression is used, definitely delve in a little bit to get more information, but err on the side of caution and maybe refer it out to us in the beginning. And then you can hook on to the phone calls when myself or Marna are calling them back, and you can sort of get a better idea of what might be play versus what might not be. But just to go over play aggression in cats, scratching, biting, swiping, clawing, pouncing on people. There's a lot to do with body language when it comes to some of this stuff. A biting cat that is biting you to hurt you is going to be a lot stiffer I guess, for body language,
Mhm.
as opposed to
Their ears are going to be laid back.
like completely pinned almost.
Not always, but certainly not forward and oh ha. It's easier to tell a cat that's playing than a cat that's really being aggressive, because a cat that's playing is going to have a happy face, whiskers forward. It's not going to clamp down on you with its teeth and hang on, as a rule.
Right.
It's just harder. You can tell the minute they make contact with you. Well, you can tell. You and I can tell.
It's different. Yeah.
That's hard. That's not the right thing to say.
Just before we continue on, you had an experience where you were talking to a person and they sent you a video.
Oh yes, their cats were fighting. Their new kittens were fighting, and they were so worried, and they were screaming and screaming. And I said, "Send me a video." And they were playing. They'd never had kittens before. Kittens and cats play much harder than we would ever allow children to play. So it looks like and sounds sometimes like they're killing each other when they're not. So that's something to bear in mind when you're talking to these people too. Another thing is a cat that is attacking your ankles out from under something that is a bona fide. They're not getting enough play. That's an invitation to play. That's a classic invitation to play, attacking the ankles. And with all of this aggression, a lot of the advice is just play with them more, play with them more, play them hard, play them to exhaustion.
So again, scratching, biting, swiping, clawing, pouncing on people. It's one of those things too, and I'm not sure if this is just me, but it's that hair on the back of your neck goes up or it doesn't. And or you get goosebumps. It's a huge indication of like, oh my God, this cat wants to kill me. Or like, oh my God, they're really being playful and crazy. It's usually combined with hiding and stalking. Stalking is such a strong word. Again, being under the couch and grabbing onto your ankles, moving body parts, arms and legs. So you walk by the couch and you forget that the cat is even there. And all of a sudden a whole, like 2 arms come out at you or 2 paws come out at you. It could be limited to one favorite person. It's typical for young cats. And you'll see it more frequently in single cat households, again, because the cat could be bored. Serious injuries are rare. So that's where you'll start to see the real bite inhibition and scratch inhibition. The scratching may actually happen if if you're walking and they grab onto your foot and you continue walking, that's where you might get a scratch. As opposed to a truly aggressive cat that really wants to scratch you, they're not going to wait for you to move. They're going to scratch you. And there tends to be no vocalizations. Did you want to elaborate at all on that?
I think that pretty much covers it. It's very subjective as to how, whether they mean it or not.
So you would take into context. So it's all going to be within context.
But if you're reaching, if you're coming at them to pet them over their head, that frequently irritates cats, especially if they're new to your household. So come in, over the shoulders and pet them like that, or do what we call drive-by petting, which is when they walk by, just drop your hand on their shoulders and so forth. And if the biting stops, then it's because they just see your hand coming at it and think, oh, whoopee, it's a new toy.
That has skin attached.
Yes, let's eat it.
Any questions about play aggression? Okay. Okay. So feline play dates. Let's park that one for now. Again, this sort of borders on that whole like, oh, just get another cat. I'm not sure that's going to be the right answer. Avoid giving the attention to the attack, but then a few minutes later, go back and start playing. So active play, feline flyers, cat dancers, especially in the attack areas. So if it's under the couch, that's where you want to sort of, be near there, but not completely under there. Self-stimulating toys. They have some really amazing stuff. Even before this PowerPoint was done, the amazing toys that they've made now than was happening even 10, 15 years ago. The toys are amazing. There's tons of automated ones that you can get.
Yeah. They're computer for the memo pads, the pads.
Yes.
The iPads that have things happening all the time and an indestructible screen. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's
amazing.
Amazing.
So there's a ton of different self-stimulating toys. Water or air sprays, if you need to, and timeouts could be the aversive part. If they're really like just completely not giving in to the extra play, and they're still trying to attack your feet. It is play, but they can be getting overly aroused and excited about it. That's where you sort of have to, the timeouts will come into play. Like you're just sort of walking away, letting them calm down, and then coming back to play with them.
One quick thing too,
Yes.
if you have a pet owner who really is interested in spending some time with it, getting this problem over, when I foster seriously aggressive cats, please God, if they're food motivated, it's pet, pet, treat, pet, 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 treat, pet, bite, and then I immediately say no, jump up, and leave the cat for 5 or 10 minutes and come back. Ditto with wand toys and things. The point being, we want the cat to know if you want the fun to end, all you have to do is scratch or bite me.
Ah, okay. That's a really good point too. And I think that's sort of where the timeouts come in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're playing, and they do get overexcited because of the play, that might be where you sort of gauge, like, oh, it happened within, 30 seconds of play. You're going to stop that play 15 seconds instead. But
or play with a wand toy.
Yeah, keep your hands, if that gets them too excited, keep a distance using those sort of things. Destruction in cats, so clawing. Totally normal behavior. Yes, you will get the question from people that may have never gotten a cat before. My cat is destroying my couch. It happens. It's totally normal.
You should see one.
Grooming and a visual marker. Not sure what that means, but
all kinds of cat scratches too. I have cardboard. I have one of those really tall hemp covered ones that are so heavy they can't be tipped over. It needs to be stable. I have one, I won't go into the description, it's so bizarre, but I have all kinds of cat scratchers everywhere, and they all use each of them.
Okay.
Although not at first. Sometimes they just, oh, what's that? But one of them will use them, and that's a huge help.
Yep. So that'll avoid using your furniture. Provide natural and desirable scratching posts, as we just talked about. Introduce through play and praise. So as they're doing it, maybe toss a small treat over or a little catnip on top of it as they're doing it, so that they realize, ooh, okay, if I do this, then something really good happens. If you want to redirect as much as possible. So if they start to do it, you can make a noise and they stop, and then redirect them to something else. If you do truly see them doing it and sort of giving you the eye, then you can be mild about your punishment. Again, water or air. Or remote punishers such as the sticky tape or contact paper, which they don't like. Declawing is not recommended by ARL. I don't even know who would recommend that in the first place.
Reputable vets, I think, declaw anymore.
Right. No. Okay. We're getting here. We're getting through. A word about holistic relaxation therapies. So rescue remedies out, composure, and fell away room diffusers are all ones that have been used before, and people have seen different ones. Now, each cat is different in reacting to whatever they, like rescue remedy might work for one cat when composure works for another, or fell away works for others. So it sort of is, again, as everything, it's a process of elimination. Did you have anything to add about that?
No, except that I've used all of these things, and they all seem to work to different degrees, and they takes longer to kick in, but they all do take the edge off. They're not going to perform any miracles, but they take the edge off beautifully, and especially if you have trouble getting your cat into a carrier, or I have 2 rather young cats that can destroy an apartment in the morning after they eat. For some reason, that's when they just want to, I fear for me. So if I'm going to be out in the morning, I'll give them several drops of rescue remedy, or a couple of the composure treats, and know that they may play a little bit, but it won't be as violently as they would normally. And then when I am home, I let them play as violently as they want to, and I join in.
Okay. Resources. So we have a ton of different resources. I have a whole bunch of handouts that I'm going to be figuring out how to get to you, and different things, but these particular resources were put together because this is where a lot of the information that Marna has comes from. If you want to elaborate a little bit on.
Amy Showjoy is complete kitten care. The first half of the book is devoted to selecting the right breed and so forth. It's completely useless to us. The second half is the best guide for kitten care, the most thorough kitten book I've ever read. I've fostered an awful lot of kittens, and I just go to her time after time after time. We all know who Jackson Galaxy is. We all worship at his feet. Pamela Johnson, I gave you this name twice. Pamela Johnson Bennett is the same as Pam Johnson Bennett. She's,
my bad.
I think she's written some books under just Johnson too, but they're probably all republished now under Johnson Bennett. And Bradshaw and Ellis too. They're all very good. I have found that every book I read is almost exactly the same as every other book I've read, except each one has one or two things that the other books don't have. So it is worth plowing through it. It really is, even if you don't read the whole book, just looking up in each of them what they say about aggression or what they say about house soil and so forth.
Okay.
It'll be worth it.
Okay. The other thing is Maddie's Fund has some amazing webinars that are completely free. There is one that I would love for you guys to take a look at. It's about feline body language. Something about canines. I'm sorry, felines speak or. Oh my God.
While you're looking at, I should also throw in. The Pam Johnson Bennett has a couple of just general books called Twisted Whiskers or Happy Cat or something like that. You can always advise, or Amy Showjoy, if they have a kitten, that they buy one of these books to help them through, keep them going on what you've told them to just.
That's a good point,
It's
too,
always,
yes.
if you're a cat owner, it's always good to have, or a dog owner, a dog book or something on the shelf.
For sure. The Maddie's Fun webinar is called Feline Communication, How to Speak Cat. It's quite basic, but it's really good. And it gives you a really good, it gives you a lot of great visuals for feline body language.
Yes.
All right. Now, I open it up to questions. Let's see. Did I miss a question? Nope, that's it. So please feel free, if you can unmute yourself or chat in the chat area, definitely please. We got through that so much quicker than I thought we would. So please, if you have anything to add, if you have any suggestions, anything at all, please sing out during the last few minutes that we have here.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
Are you comfortable with the house soiling issue? Are we allowed to ask people if their cat is already declawed? Just because I know that is like a big, a lot of cats that are declawed don't use a litter box.
That's a great point. That's a great point because it hurts their paws. They would, in that case, they would want to switch to something like the world's greatest cat, these corn-based. Or I don't know what yesterday's news is, but it sounds soft. They would want to switch to something soft for the cat. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, Erin, that's fantastic. So everybody, if you can make note, if you were able to hear Erin ask the question. So one huge question to ask is, I mean, cats come into our shelter that have been declawed. Yeah. We obviously don't promote it, but it happens, and cats definitely come in that way. So that means they're everywhere, and there are other shelters that adopt out cats that are declawed already. And as Marna was saying, that this can be painful to use regular clay litter for these declawed cats. So it's really important to even ask the question, is your cat declawed? Is that why they're not, eliminating in the box? So, and there are some litters that are much softer so that it doesn't hurt their feet when they're using the box. Kristen had a question. Will you be going more into cat dog intros in the next dog session? Yeah, we'll probably cover that a little bit more. Mostly what it is like we'll go into what not to do. And then the questions that you'll ask for, that'll be a lot of dog questions because you need to know how much control they actually have over their dog. So
Oh.
the cat can be a little more sequestered, like they'll stay away from the dog if the dog keeps their distance. It's usually the dog that's more intrusive. The dog is more intrusive.
Intrusive, I quibble with that. They're friendly.
Well, friendlier, thank you. I want to say pushy, but that's okay.
They're sweet.
The dogs, I don't know. Dogs
They're
can be
so
kind of,
social.
they're social. Social is the perfect word. Dogs tend to be a lot more social, so they don't realize the social cues of a cat that's
Yes.
like, really, I want nothing to do with you. So those, because you can get a little bit more control, and you can confine a dog way more than you can confine a cat. But yes, we'll go into that a little bit more too. And Denise had a question. You can suggest getting the book from the library if they don't want to purchase the book. That's a really good idea too. Yes, absolutely. Yes. That's a huge suggestion because, people are already making the investment of a new pet into their home. So you never know what finances are like, but yes, absolutely. There's a couple of apps on the phones too that allow you to rent books via audiobook and those sort of things. So those are other suggestions that you can use.
And I'll look up some websites too, because they can also take their specific questions to a website.
Oh, definitely. There are a ton.
Jackson Galaxy's
Oh my God.
Great.
Jackson Galaxy's great. Dumb Friends League, ASPCA Pro, all of those different ones are all free resources that
For
go over
us,
the same
too.
thing. Yeah. And again, I have a whole group of handouts that I want to get to you somehow. Well, I have to figure that out tomorrow. But so any other questions before I continue? Okay, so the reason I put the extra week in between each session is one, because it's a lot of information to absorb. The other thing is I want you to sort of be cat focused for this next couple of weeks. So I really want you to sort of delve into a little bit about what we've talked about. Go to the different sites that have the resources, start reading up a little bit, maybe take the webinar that I said for Maddie's Fund with the body language. Look into some of the resources and get yourself a little bit more familiar with what we've talked about. Definitely email me, call me, text me with questions that, you're sort of like, wait, what did you say about that part or this part? And start sort of thinking about cat related everything so that you can sort of get yourself really familiar. That's sort of why I wanted to give the big break, was because I wanted you guys to have a couple of weeks to sort of think about the cat focus, thinking about more cat behavior, and just put the time into that part, because I guess part of it will be some self-study stuff, and I'll get the handouts to you. I will also send you a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. Again, we elaborated on a lot of the different points, but for the most part, you get the idea with the actual presentation itself. And then we have the group email for a reason. So, if one person has the question, feel free to use the group email so that, everyone can sort of see the answer. Or, one person might have the question and ask it, but then another person might be like, oh yeah, I had that question too. So definitely utilize, you can reach us any way you'd like, but utilize the group email if everyone is okay with that, because again, some people might have the questions, or multiple people might have the questions, so we can give the answer.
And we can word search the email too if you have a problem, and just get everybody who's dealt with that problem too.
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good point too. So Denise is there any way you can set up a group folder with all the handouts? Yeah, I have to figure out how to do that. Now, the question I have with this Teams thing, let me back up for a minute. We are not, as an organization, just because of privacy issues and such, we are not going to be able to use the live docs anymore. And I don't know if Dropbox, I don't think we can use that either. There's some privacy issues as far as like, you know, I guess a lot of viruses go through some of these things such as Dropbox or live Google Docs. So that's going to be changing. I'm trying to figure out a way. Apparently this Teams program has a ton of different resources that I'm not utilizing yet. So this could be the platform that I use, especially because you don't have to have Microsoft Office 365 in order to use it. So within the next week or so, you'll start to see me piloting it a little bit, where you might get some messages from me through Teams if you have the app on your phone. You might have to, open up the web app in order to access some of the information. So I'm going to be fiddling around with it, but this is going to be the program probably that we'll end up using. Again, because the live Google Docs and the Dropboxes of the world, I'm not able to use anymore. So we'll get there. Definitely do some troubleshooting, but I think the bottom line is for the next couple of weeks, I just want you to, again, be cat focused and really start delving into some of the things that we talked about. And of course, again, any questions for now, just do the group email. So I think that's it. I think we made it.
I just want to do
please.
the hand holding thing.
Oh, yes.
You really need to bear in mind, it took me years to realize this, but the people who are calling us are at their wits' end. They've failed to solve the problem. They're afraid if they call us, well, first they think we can wave a magic wand and make it go away, and then they get depressed when they find out we can't. They're afraid that if they return the cat to us, we'll have it put down. They've already bonded with the cat. They don't want to return it. So they're at their wits' end. They're frightened. They need you to calm them down before we can address the cat thing properly. You need to tell them what a great cat owner they are for having reached out to us. You need to reassure them that we will get through this, that you're with them for the long haul. And if necessary, you need to kind of give them permission to return the cat and point out that we will not put the cat down, that in fact we will have a better chance of finding the right home thanks to the information they will provide us. We don't want to make it easy for them to return the cat, but that somehow relaxes them enough that they're a lot more able to hear what you're saying because they're not stressed out. I always ask the name of the cat. I always say, oh, what a great name. Anything to just relax them and make them see you as a person. Initially, I just addressed the problem. I barely even got their name and said, well, here's what you have to do. Now I spend a good 5 minutes on, oh, you poor thing.
Right. That's a really good point because, again, they are so at their wits' end with the whole thing. One quick note about the animals that are being returned to the Animal Rescue League of Boston because they were adopted from us. We have just made it so that any animal that is returned to the Animal Rescue League of Boston that was adopted from us originally, there's no surrender fee. So they will not be charged a fee in order to return them. That was sort of a roadblock where we were getting some feedback that was, our animals were going to different places because of that roadblock. I did have a cat come through, I think it was the Helpline. Oh yeah, it was the Helpline. They had adopted a cat a year ago, and I don't know if they had the dog or if they adopted the dog after the cat was there, but it was very interesting. And again, I could not be judgmental. However, I didn't, and I promise you I wasn't, but the way that she was describing the behaviors, it definitely was one of those, why is the cat reacting to the dog this way? The dog is just trying to be friendly. The cat did not like the dog, and every time the dog was free, would go right to the cat to be friendly and to play, but the cat didn't like it, so the cat would then scratch the dog, and the owners were getting really frustrated with the cat for scratching the dog. Took a deep breath and just talked her through. And I realized that ultimately the bottom line, it was not the right match. And I saw and read between the lines that this wasn't going to change. I mean, it just wasn't going to. And they wanted to fix the cat in order to make it get along with the dog. So I actually brought up returning the cat because I knew ultimately it was not the right match.
Yeah.
And the way that I worked it out was, this is totally fine. We can make sure that this cat goes to a household with no other pets. And so at that moment, again, given permission to return, it completely worked out fine. So now the cat is safer because he's here and will go to a home without any other animals.
At least no dogs.
At least no dogs, right? So those are sort of the things that you sort of have to play the game a little bit, where you might be a little frustrated. You guys can always, it's a completely transparent and open conversation between us as a group. If you're frustrated and this, you're having a hard time. But obviously we don't want that to go out to the person that's on the phone.
I think you're talking about a woman that I referred to, Lainey, because I was getting so angry with her. At least there was one that I referred to because I was getting so angry. It was starting to appear in my voice, and I knew I could no longer help this woman. I needed to hand her off to you.
Yep, exactly. So we're always going to be a network of a team, and we're always going to be here if you get frustrated or anything, or if you're just like you have a funny story, anything at all. But again, when we're working with the actual caller, obviously we have to contain ourselves. So if there aren't any other questions, I will let you guys get on with your evening. And again, feel free to use the group email or call or text. And thank you so much for all of your help and your support. And we'll move on for the next couple of weeks. You guys will be cat filled. And our next session will be on April, did I say 17th? Let me just double check on that date. And we will be focusing on, so April 17th at 6 p.m. we'll be focusing on the small animals and rabbits. Thank you, Denise. Anyways, we'll look forward to seeing you then. And again, thank you very much for your time, everybody. Good night.
Good morning.